Mhm.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Progress Junior Golf with Live Sport Now. My name's Steve Jackson, and this is Ian Waterhouse.
Hello, Steve. It's great to see you again. It feels like it's been a long time, though, doesn't it?
It is. It's been 3 weeks since the last one, so it's important that we come back, get our podcast out there, because this podcast is all about junior golf. It's about the next generation of golfers. It's about getting more boys and girls playing the game of golf. This is the 21st. How many, Ian? 21, is that?
Yeah, anybody who saw my advertising for this podcast before across Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, I created a graphic which you've seen this one. You've seen this graphic. This is the one I very hastily edited because I made a bit of a mistake, because this was the original graphic until about 10 minutes ago. Until Steve corrected me and reminded me. I even created a folder saying episode 21, so I don't know where I got 20 from. I can only apologise to everybody.
You're just thinking, I wish I was 20 again as opposed to 21. That must be it, wasn't it?
I wish I was 21, Steve. I wish I was 31.
Now, we have to mention as well that this, like we say, this is the 21st Progress Junior Golf podcast. Normally we'd have the young ambassadors on, but not this week. Unfortunately, a few exams have been caught up with the person who was going to be coming on a guest. So it's just going to be me and Ian talking this afternoon, or this evening rather. This is it. But the England Golf Young Ambassadors will be back for the next podcast and for the rest of the year as well. So we're gonna get some really big topics, and we get some big opinions as well from our young ambassadors coming up. Right, let's move on to the podcast. And what are we going to be talking about today? Then we're going to be talking about Junior Opens. Now, it's a topic very close to my heart. I've been heavily involved with organising lots of these types of competitions in recent years across a number of counties. So I've been there when it's gone well. I've been there when it's gone not quite so well as well, which which just happens occasionally, you see. So, but I think it's about time that we delve a little bit deeper into the subject, because we want to find out why clubs run them, how they run them, when and where they take place, what the format is, how do juniors get the names down for them. Lots of questions involving Junior Open. So there's a massive subject. We're going to look at it from different angles as well, because obviously, there's a club might look at a Junior Open very differently from a parent, which might look at it from differently from a junior. A boy or a girl might look at a Junior Open differently. Club professionals, county golf union. So, there's no perfect way of running these types of events, but hopefully there's going to be some help and guidance which we can give to all those different people about what can be achieved with these types of events, and how they can be good and how they can be avoid those bad experiences. So
I will say as well, Steve, anybody watching as well who's got your own experiences, please do comment. We can see your comments, so please get them in. We do want to hear from you. Tell us your experiences. Have you tried to run a Junior Open as your kid, or yourself played in a Junior Open? Tell us what it was like, the good, the bad, and the ugly. We want to hear from you. We're across Facebook, we're on Twitter, or on Twitch, or on LinkedIn, or on YouTube at Live Sport Now. Please do comment below so we can see your comments, have your say. If you do it over at YouTube as well at Live Sport Now, we can see, we can show your comments on screen too. So get involved. This is your podcast at the end of the day. We want to hear from you.
Absolutely. Right. First things first, let's do the latest junior golf news. A lot to catch up on, as we mentioned there, 3 weeks worth of junior news. Let's start off with England under 16s against Ireland under 16s. We did mention the team had been selected for this in the last podcast. It's the first time this event has been held for 3 years due to the pandemic, and England won big time. They won 21.5, 8.5, took place at Royal Birkdale. Really from the start, they started off like a house on fire. Foursomes, they won 5-1 on the first morning, won the singles in the afternoon 9-3, so massive lead going into the second day singles, and they won that 7.5, 4.5. Special mention for 5 players: Chloe Tabard, Royal Norwich, Nellie Ong from Eton, Matilda Santilli from Fox Hills, Imogen Williamson from Delamere Forest, and Chris Kim from Walton Heath, because all 5 of those players won all 3 of their matches. So really well done to those players there. In fact, I think every single player in the England team did win at least 1 point in the match as well. So well done to England there, and well done to Ireland as well. They've got they're up against a very strong team in England. So but really good to have that match back on.
Yeah.
Now let's move north of the border then. Scotland, the Race to Dubai final. This was the Stephen Gallagher Foundation final. A very familiar name was at the top of the leaderboard. Oliver Murkagy, who won by 5 shots. And what about this round? Because these were difficult conditions playing at, I think it was Dunbar they were playing it at. Yes, of course he was, race to Dunbar. And there he is with the trophy. 5 under par round of 66 in windy conditions. He was actually 7 under par after 13 holes. Now, I did mention a familiar name there because this is someone who is only 16 years old. He won the Scottish Amateur Championship earlier this year. He also shot a course record 64 to win a Junior Tour Scotland event at Royal Dornoch in April. So there's a talented individual there. And I say individual because his twin, who was mentioned on the previous podcast, Samuel Mukherjee, he won the race to the Macri final a few days earlier than that. And he finished third in this competition. So they did, but pair of them did really well. Obviously couldn't match the 66, which was a fantastic score. But that's
a question for you. Here's a question for you, Steve. I'm looking into some stargazing into the future here. How many brothers have played on a Ryder Cup?
Well, I can think of 2 Italians. That's the start. After that, I'm struggling. I'm hoping you can help me out.
No, I don't know. It's going to be Oliver and Samuel, by the way. I'm putting that question out there. Of course, you mean Eduardo and Francisco Molinari, of course.
Absolutely, yes.
If there's any others off the top, I've literally just thought of it as we were talking about that because I was actually thinking this is the 21st podcast we've done now. And I think you've mentioned Oliver probably in about 18 of them. He's a real talent, isn't he? My word.
Absolutely, yeah. And like I say, his brother Sam as well, who's doing really well as well. So a couple of, they're only 16 years old, so there's a lot of development in them to come as well. So I think their handicaps are something silly like +4 and +3. So 2 fantastic golfers. Right, staying in Scotland then. Scotland Junior Tour Order Merit Final. This took place at St Andrews on the Jubilee course. The under-14s champion was another golfer called Cameron Mukherjee. Can you believe it? There's another one. This is the under-14s category, so obviously must be a younger brother of the twins. So 77, 78, he won the under-14s category. Under-18.
Could you imagine if all 3 of them end up playing in the Ryder Cup? That'd just be incredible.
I know. When you started talking about twins, I was in my head. I was thinking, has there ever been 3 for one family? I mean, that's some going. Under-18s category, Dylan Cairns won that. He's from Royal Troon. The under-16s, that was where the really good scoring came. Well, very good scoring from those 2, but the actual better scoring came from the under-16s. Jack Mann won that competition. He plays for Fortrose and Rose Marquis. Scores a 76-73. Second was Kobe Buchan, and Ewan Farquhar was third. And actually, interestingly, with 3 holes to play, all 3 of those players were tied for the lead. And Jack Mann managed to par the last 3 holes and just surged a little bit ahead of the other 2. So a really good scoring there. 76-73 was the winning score in the end. Girls competition, Freya Russell, another player who's been mentioned on this podcast on previous occasions, another member of Royal Troon, 85 in the first round. She was actually 1 shot off the lead after the first round, 74 in the second round. 3 under par after 5 holes, so really came out the blocks in the afternoon. In the end, she won by 11 shots from a player from Spain and Ruby Watt from Paul Laurie Golf Centre. The best net score in that came from Erin Hurd from Stonehaven Golf Club. Now, British Junior Golf Tour then, a bit further closer to you, down at Farley Golf Course. Lots of different age categories with this. It was their Tour Championship final. And the under-6s was won by Hamza Marfleet from Freewood Heath, 41 he shot. Under-7s, also 7 to 8 category, Marcus Karim from East Hart, 77. He won by 7 shots. The 9 to 10 age category, Jensen Ringer from Rochester and Cobham over in Kent, 77. He beat Dylan Barney, who I know Dylan actually. I know him when he played in that under-6 category. So it's lovely to see that the fact that he's continuing playing the British Junior Golf Tour and obviously really enjoying it and doing well as well. So finished second there. The 9 to 12 age category, William Finlay, couple of cracking scores here. First and second, won on countback with a 64, net 64. He won on countback from Riley Banks. Then they had a boys open, which was played over 18 holes. That was won Ben Benatar from Copthorne. 70 he shot. Best gross in that was Maximus Maddox with a 74. So really good score in there. The girls, Sophia Boyce won with a net 73. The best gross score was 74 from Macy Whittle from Gaudo Luce. Actually, I'll tell you a story about Gaudo Luce. I went to cover that because we are going to be talking about Junior Opens a little bit later on. Yeah. I actually went to their Junior Open a few weeks ago and took a few photos at the event. And I said to them, how do you actually pronounce Gaudo Luce? Is it Gaudo Luce? Is it Gaudet Luce? And I'm not joking. I asked 4 different people at the club, and all 4 of them said it differently. And I'm like, if your own club doesn't know how to say it, then what chance is me as a visitor, you know? But I say Gaudo Luce. That's what I'm sticking to, and that's so from now on. But anyway, there you go.
If anybody from there wants to come on and put Steve in his place, please do.
Absolutely. Yeah, with the official verdict of how you pronounce your name. It's a lovely golf course as well, I have to say. So I'm really, really friendly of juniors as well. Massive field for the Junior Open, which I'm sure we'll talk about a bit later. Right, England women's squad has been announced. There's teenager Rachel Gawley, another player who we know very well.
Yeah.
She's been promoted from the girls' squad into the women's squad. Earlier this year, she became the first amateur to win a Rose Ladies Series event. So well done to her earlier this year.
She's had some years, Rachel, and she won the Sunningdale Foursomes, don't forget, earlier on with partnered Lottie Bode,
who is also in that women's squad. I was just about to mention her. There you go. You beat me to you. You're reading my script here. You know what I'm talking. Right, now moving overseas. Then let's go to the World Junior Girls Golf Championship. This took place at Angus Glen Golf Club. Where's this? Where's the Angus Glen Golf Club? What country do you think that's in?
Angus Glen. You say it's overseas, so it's not in Scotland then. Angus Glen, Ireland.
Close. Canada.
All right, just a little bit off. Just an entire Atlantic Ocean off. That's all.
That's it. Yeah. Right. The winner was Cayeta Fernandez. I think we might have a photo of Cayeta because they also won the team prize. She's from Spain. They won the team award. Scores of 70, 70, 72, and 70. So she finished 6 under par. And Spain won the team event. Best individuals as far as English were concerned. Sophie Fulbrook finished 11th place. Elise Reimer was 21st. Harriet Lockley from Wales was 25th. England finished 9th in the overall team event. Wales were 13th. Ireland finished 15th. Right, staying overseas then, because there's an event which we haven't got the result from yet, but it's coming up very soon. The Fowler Series of the Grand Final, which takes place at the UAE. That's on November the 1st to the 3rd. We are going to have another podcast between now and then, but I just want to big out because we are going to be doing an interview with Sir Nick Faldo on that trip. So if anyone does have any questions that they want to put to Sir Nick about his, whether it's his junior career, whether it's the Faldo Series, anything to do with, this is a 6 major winner. This is someone who has got a lot to give to junior golf. So if anyone does have any questions, then please get in touch with us. We'll get those questions to Sir Nick, and then we're going to play that out in a podcast coming up. Hopefully sometime in November.
Matthew, if you're watching, I am available those dates because I'm not going. You're going, aren't you, Steve?
I am. Yes, I'm going to be there taking photos. So massive event. Obviously, players coming from all over the world to play in this competition. So good luck to all the English representatives and Scottish and Irish players and Welsh players who are going to be playing in that event.
It's going to be wonderful. It really is.
It will be, absolutely. Right. Just one other thing as well. A couple of other things. One. Now, this is a player we mentioned in the last podcast, a young lad called James Miller from Overston Park Golf Club. He won an event which I ran called the Northamptonshire Wonders. Now, it's a little trick I do with you, and I say, guess the score, and you normally horrendously badly. Now, this is a lad who shot a net 18 over a 9-hole competition, playing up a handicap of 19. Well, he played in the Shires Junior Golf Tour event, a grand final. This took place at Wellingborough Golf Club. It was his first ever competition over 18 holes. Go on then, Ian. What do you think his score was?
You say he got a net 18 over 9, didn't he? So
yeah. So this was Stableford. So points wise.
Oh God, I don't know, Steve, because I'll say something silly and be wrong, big time.
51 points he came in the first ever round over 18 holes. And
I was going to say 44, so I wouldn't have been.
Which would have been a sensible guess, but 51 was exceptional. So well done to James, because obviously backing up his really good form. And I have to say as well, this is a lad who if you're wondering why he's handicapped, and it's because this is the first time he's had the opportunity to play 18 holes, because physically he can't actually manage to play 18 holes. So he's been playing a lot of 9-hole competitions because he can't actually physically make it. So well done for playing 18 holes for the first time, and also well done for doing really well and doing and scoring 51 points. Fantastic to win the prize. Other winners in that event, Jack Meakin won the gold division. Connie Stonestreet won the 9-hole bronze division. And the winners of that competition, the winners of the Order of Merit rather for the Shires Junior Golf Tour, have a round of golf with a certain Charlie Hull. So
congratulations to Charlie Hull as well, by the way.
Absolutely, winning the LPGA.
What a month it's been for British women on the LPGA.
Absolutely, yeah, with Jodie Shadoff as well, winning the following week as well. So isn't it great to see?
Steve, you're good mates with Charlie Hull. When's she coming on this podcast?
she'll be coming on soon. Hopefully, I'll be at that event when she's doing the round of golf with the boys and girls and that. So I'm going to hopefully set her up then.
I'll do my hair for that show.
Absolutely, yes. Right, just finally, then we've got a photo of this. It's lovely to finish on a really nice story. 7 young Ukrainian golfers who, unfortunately, with obviously everything's been gone, relocated to various locations across Europe because of the war. When it began in February, travelled to Scotland to participate in a special high performance golf camp. It was organised by a group who have been working with the RNA's Women in Golf Leadership Development Programme. It took place, I think it was at St Andrews. I might be wrong with that, but you might recognise the guy in the middle there. A guy who plays on the tour overseas somewhere, not the Live Tour. No, I think he plays on another tour. But great of them to meet Rory McIlroy. So and well done to Rory for meeting them.
That is fantastic. Well done, Rory. Fantastic. I'm surprised he found time in his busy live bashing schedule to get in. But well done, Rory. Absolutely,
yeah. Right, now that wraps up the news then. So we're going to move on to the podcast today. We are going to be talking about Junior Opens now. Like I say, it's something which I've got a bit of experience of kind of covering. But there's going to be people out there, there's going to be clubs out there who might need a little bit of advice about it, kind of thing. So I mean, what's your experience? Did you ever play any, or have you ever been and featured any, or done some video in any of them?
No, do you know, I haven't actually. My sister did. My sister's actually better golfer than me, far better golfer than me, actually. She's just got a natural swing. She doesn't play anymore, but she could pick up a club now.
But she's still a better golfer than you then?
She's still a better golfer. And funnily enough, her home club was Farnham, same as Lottie, and they actually sort of backed her in a few things. And I think, it's just been a bit too much for her. But I mean, that was a long time ago. I mean, I'm sure my sister won't mind me saying that she's just past the big 4-0. So, that was a long time ago. But one thing that I find interesting, because we had Aaron Cox on the show, and of course he has his big junior setup up at Blackwell Grange. But I was looking at something on Twitter the other day, and it was somebody moaning about juniors at a golf club. And they said they should not be allowed to play golf until they're 16 years old. And I just thought, I mean, that's just utterly madness, because by the time they're 16, if they've never played golf, they're probably doing football or rugby or something else. It's too late by then, isn't it, really? Because I find golf is the type of sport that you play at junior level and then you're either good and take it further, or you tend to have this gap between about 18 to 40 where you might not play it because you've been doing football and other stuff like that. Then you start to pick up golf again in later life. And this is where I think Junior Opens come into their own, to make golf a little bit more competitive, to have something that perhaps there wasn't a lot of. And I suppose, Steve, you've got a lot of experience of this, because you played in some Junior Opens, didn't you, when you were a wee nipper back in the 1960s?
No, thank you very much.
I am joking.
Yes, early 70s. Yes. No, I didn't play in a single Junior Open. I've been playing a single junior competition when I was younger, and I wasn't even aware of them. That's the frightening thing about it is the sense of, I wish I was, because I might well have got more into golf. I started playing when I was 10 years old, so I did start when I was very young. So I played a lot of junior golf when I was young, but I didn't play any kind of competitive junior golf at that age. Now, I would have loved to have played in these Junior Opens, because it would have given me the opportunity to play in different courses, and also to play against other golfers as well, and to kind of test myself to see how I could cope in those types of environments, you see.
So why is that, Steve? Is that because you said you weren't aware of them? You obviously played, you're a junior and you played golf as a junior, as did I, but I wasn't good enough, so I would have just embarrassed myself at Junior Opens. But is it because there just weren't enough, or you only play a Junior Open if you've been selected by the club and you're like already an elite junior? Because to me, it seems like nowadays the pathway is a lot clearer. It's a bit easier and there's more opportunities than there was, say, 20, 30 years ago.
I think one of the main reasons why I didn't play him was because I never had a handicap. So therefore, it was almost a barrier whereby you weren't allowed to play in Junior Opens or junior competitions because you didn't have a handicap in those days. So I suppose, which is a point which we are going to talk about, because the Junior Opens, yes, there are criteria to play in some of these Junior Opens taking place now, but there are avenues whereby players who don't have handicaps can play in these kind of competitions. So at the age of 10, 11, 12, I played on a 9-hole golf course. So Junior Opens, I tend to try and if I'm trying to organise one, I make sure there's a 9-hole category, and if there's which is still for handicap golfers, but if there's someone out there who says I haven't got a handicap, I'd still like to play in this competition, then I still let them play. I still give them the opportunity to play in the event, and I tailor it towards what might be might be appropriate for them. So, for example, I did an event recently whereby there was 2 7-year-olds. One of them had a handicap, one of them didn't have a handicap, and it was a case of, well, if I send them off the red tees or yellow tees or whatever, it's going to be too much for them. So I then, okay, let's stick some tees halfway down the fairway, make it accessible, make it so they can, and one of them actually went around, I think, in 1 or 2 over par over 9 holes. So therefore it made it fun for them. It wasn't too difficult. There was still a couple of holes there whereby they had to clear water, so it wasn't a very easy golf course by any stretch of the imagination. But at least it gave them the opportunity to play in a different way and a different type of golf course and enjoy the experience. Now, if we start off though, what is a Junior Open? Because in theory, it should be what it says on the tin, isn't it? Yeah. It's open to everyone. But like I say there, it's a case of, is it open to everyone? There are certain Junior Opens, there are certain clubs out there whereby they have criteria. The criteria might be, so let's say for boys, it might be 28 handicap and below. For girls, it might be 36 handicap and below. Now, that's fine. So obviously you need to be aware of that when you're looking to try and find a competition to play in. The Progress Junior Golf website, for example, it doesn't include any club competitions on there, as in internal club competitions.
Yeah.
But by far the biggest amount of competitions on that website that people can play in are Junior Opens. There are over 1,000 competitions on that website each year, and I think about 400 of those are Junior Opens. So they are
just before you go on with that then as well, Steve, anybody watching this right now, do check out Steve's website. There is a link in the body of this broadcast that takes you straight through to the Progress Junior website. It is running across the bottom as well. Do check it out. Seriously, do go check it out. There is so much on there. It is an absolute cavern of information for junior golf. So check it out, progressjuniorgolf.com. Like I said, you don't even have to type it out. There's a link in the body wherever you're watching this, Facebook, YouTube, wherever. Just click the link, it'll take you straight through. Do it after the show.
And also, at the moment, obviously, we are coming towards the end of the season, so there aren't that many Junior Opens on there at the moment. There are some coming up because we have got half-time coming up, October half-time. So there are some coming up over the next week or so, but then after that, obviously, it will filter out a little bit, and you might have some in February, possibly the occasional winter one. But clubs are now putting their Junior Open schedules together for next year, you see. So a Junior Open, basically, really, you only ever run one a year. So it's your opportunity as a golf club to go, right, it's in the title, isn't it? It's open. It's open to anyone. It's not just open to the players at your own golf club. It's open to players from other golf clubs. It's open to players, hopefully, who may not have a golf club and may be looking for a golf club. And it's a way of a golf club to go, right, come and have a look at my golf course. Come and have a look at my golf club. Come and have a look at the setup here. We want you to come and play our golf course, and we would love you to come and have an opportunity to see what golf is all about at our particular club. They do it for adults, they do it for seniors, they do it for, mixed, pairs, ladies, lots of different types of opens. The Junior Opens, though, are the ones whereby that's the future. That's your opportunity really to tap up the next generation. But there's a way of doing it, and there's a way of doing it right, and there's a way of doing it wrong. And golf clubs need to learn how to do it right and do it wrong.
Now, you say right or wrong. I have a question for you, and actually I think it's almost quite radical when it comes to handicapping, because you just said there, Junior Open, it's an open competition, all right, so anybody can enter. However, you can only enter if you fit certain criteria, so immediately that openness is just closed a little bit. Now, I don't know what you think about this, Steve, but I think you shouldn't be able to get a handicap in golf until you probably get to about 14 or 16. Most sports, all right, most sports that you're involved in, now I haven't given this a huge amount of thought, but most sports you're involved in is done via age category. Now, I appreciate golf is different, but it's not actually. If I play tennis, all right, and I'm 8, I play against another 8-year-old. Now, if they're 10 times better than me, they beat me. That's just how it goes, all right? There's no all right, we'll give you a set start. Do you know what I mean? Because they're still going to beat me.
Yes.
And that's why I actually think golf perhaps gets a few things wrong in a sense of the handicap system. You're going into an event where you could be a single figure handicapper, but you could lose to somebody who's a 35 handicapper. Now, something not quite right about that. But equally at junior level, I almost feel like there's almost a little bit too much pressure with regards to handicaps. I would scrap the whole thing. We just do it on age categories for junior opens. 7-year-old takes on a 7-year-old, or everybody in that group is 7 years old. What do you think? What do you think about that? Do you think I'm onto something?
Well, so the difference between a junior open then, which tends to go down the handicap route, so that's the way that they do the junior opens, and obviously that's because it matches up with the handicap system for adult competitions, whether it's opens or whatever. There are tours out there who do the age category. So, for example, when we were talking about the news earlier with the British Junior Golf Tour, they have age brackets, and they factor the course on the basis of the age. So therefore, an under 6 will play off forward tees, the under 8 will move slightly further away from the green, under 10s, 12s, 14s, to the point whereby then they do an 18-hole competition, whereby then it is gross and net, and then it's a handicap competition. So they have the way that they do it. The Robert Rock Junior Golf Tour do it very similar. I think the Northern Junior Golf Tour, they also do age categories with what they do. The Wee Wonders and the US Kids, when they have the World Championships over in the States, it's all based on the same thing then. So it's a different type of competition. And like I say, I made the point, 2 minutes ago, there's a right and a wrong way of doing it. And neither of those are right or neither of them are wrong. Yeah. They are just different ways of doing it, kind of thing. So when you're looking at a junior open, this is what you tend to get. They tend to be handicap qualifiers and handicap competitions. If you wanted to go down the age category, then there are options out there, and there are a lot of options out there. There are plenty of competitions. If you wanted to do that, then you do on, whether it's one of the tours or whatever. So it's neither right or wrong, but it's the way it always has been, I suppose. Whether it's right or wrong, I don't know. The one thing I'd say with age categories is the problem you can have with that, and you kind of alluded to a little bit in tennis, is that if you're the same age as someone and they are better than you at the age of 7, generally they're probably going to be better than you at the age of 8. They're probably going to be better than you at the age of 9. They're probably going to be better than you at 10. So therefore, you're always playing against that person who's always going to be better than you.
Well,
within handicaps, you have a handicap, so therefore you can beat that person.
The difference there, though, is, but that's the same for every sport. That's the same in athletics. It's the same. If you're a faster runner than somebody at 7, you're probably going to be faster than them at 8. However, at junior age, they develop so quickly and so differently. So, a year is a long time. When you're 7, a year is a long time, and you'll get a lot of development. And the idea is that really, if you do get beat by somebody by 10 shots who's just better than you, that next time you play them next year, they only beat you by 5 shots, and then it's 3 shots. And then by the time you get to 18, you're actually on a par, if not better than them. And it's sport, Steve, at the end of the day, unfortunately. And at junior level, a lot of sport really is designed. This is how I view it. And please comment, by the way, if you think I'm being completely stupid, tell me. I really don't mind. But I'm involved in lots of different sports. It's not just golf. And a lot of this I see, and I'm involved in junior football. My son plays for a team, he's 6. And a lot of the point is to keep people playing the sport, not necessarily to win at this age. Now, as you get a bit older, I'm talking about 6-year-olds, but as we start to get to sort of 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, into your teens, I appreciate the competition is going to get a little bit fiercer, but that's when, the better players do rise to the top. And if you're not a better player, just as long as you're still enjoying the game, then kind of that sort of matters, because there's a lot of people who play football who are never going to make it, and they've played for 30 years just because they just love the game. And golf should be the same. I'm never going to make it on tour. I never had a chance. I still love playing golf. I know that if I play somebody who's single, I can play somebody who's single figure handicap and technically beat them. I haven't beaten them. All right. It doesn't matter what the scorecard says. They've beaten me. All right. If I go on a proper 18-hole course and there's a par 4 and it's a standard par 4 and I get a birdie, I'm delighted. Okay. I don't want it to count for extra points. I'm just delighted I've got that. So I feel that golf gets too complicated for junior levels, and it's sometimes a bit of a barrier. Now, I appreciate it's all sports. At junior level, when they start to get you get the better players and it gets a bit more elite, then there's a little bit more to it. And I totally get that. I feel we've got to get people into the game. So we've just got to simplify it. Get 7-year-olds playing against 7-year-olds, get 8-year-olds playing against 8-year-olds. The better ones will win. That's just sport. That's tough. But if the 8-year-olds who are losing but are having a good time, and then next time because sport's an individual, golf's an individual sport as well. It's not like football where you can be rubbish, but you've got 4 good teammates and then you win every game. That's not quite teaching you as much as golf can do. So I feel we need to simplify junior golf, certainly for tournaments as well. Just have it age v age.
The other thing to add to that as well, not only is it an individual sport, but also you are competing against the golf course as well, as opposed to
100%.
So therefore, you can measure how you are progressing without actually you are in a competitive environment, but you're competing against the golf course. And obviously, the beauty about Junior Opens is you can go and play and compete against lots of different junior golf courses or golf courses full stop. So therefore, you're getting the excitement out of the golf course as opposed to the competitiveness against someone else kind of thing. So you can play. We've all done it whereby you mentioned it there, whereby you're playing around the golf with a 1 handicap, but you know that you're not going to compete against him off the tee or whatever. But at the same time, it's the fact that if you can think to yourself, right, but if I break 90 here, or if I do something, I get a couple of birdies or whatever, then I feel as if I have competed against this golf course and I've beaten the golf course today. And he might have gone around in 75, 80 and been 3 over his handicap or whatever. And actually, when it comes down to it, you probably played better than he did on the day. See, so yeah. There's ways of encouraging and using, the sport. There are benefits to that, whereby you can use it to your advantage. Now, in terms of Junior Opens, then, so the podcast is we're going to be talking specifically about these, and you mentioned about obviously playing alongside different players at different standards. Now, this is something which has cropped up on a number of occasions with me when I've been covering events and I've organised events and also taken photos at competitions. Is what do they do when you have a field where you have, let's go from a 1 handicapper up to a 36 handicapper? How do you send them out? Let's say you've got a field of 50 golfers, and you might have, let's say, 40 golfers, boys, 10 are girls, and they range all the way through their handicaps. If you were going to send them out in handicap order, what handicap order would you send them out in, Ian, do you think?
It's a good question because
I'll give you 3 options then, right? So you can either send them out with the best players first, and then the worst players at the worst. That's not the right phrase, but you know what I'm saying. The higher handicappers towards the end. You can either send out the higher handicappers first and the better players towards the end, or you can mix them all up. What do you think would be the perfect option? There's no perfect option.
If I was a golf club,
yep,
and I had to do this, I would send out the better players first because they are going to be held up by the slower, the higher handicappers. If you're able to go around, if you're able to go around in 80, let's say, right? It doesn't matter, whatever. If you're able to go around in 80, you're going to get around a golf course probably quicker than somebody's going to go around in 110. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know whether that's the right answer, but if I was a golf course, I would want, get them out, and so there's not backlogs up and people waiting every 2 seconds.
Okay, so you're right. So therefore, you cure one issue in the sense of there's the slope. Well, you don't cure it completely because inevitably you can't cure everything all the time. But slow play shouldn't be quite so much of an issue because, like you say, the better players generally should, in theory, be quicker players because they're not spraying it left, right, and centre. They're not looking for golf balls on every hole. They should be hitting it down the fairway most of the time and playing the holes better than a higher handicapper. But you also have an issue there. Let's say you have a field, like I mentioned, there are 50 players. So therefore, the first tee time might be 2.5 hours before the last tee time. If that last group then takes half an hour longer than perhaps they should do over the course of the entire day, you might have a 3-hour gap between that first group coming in and that last group coming in. Now, if you have a presentation to do, what do you do then? Those lower handicappers have stood around twiddling their thumbs, and generally speaking, they tend to be a little bit older, so therefore they're teenagers.
How many players did you say we have, Steve? 50 players.
Let's say you got 50, yeah.
Shotgun start.
Okay. Which then we bring into other issues with where can golf clubs have a shotgun start for Junior Opens and things like that. They're rare. I mean, I like the idea, and I know you do as well. I like the idea of shotgun starts. I think they're a really good way of doing it, kind of thing. Okay, so that's one way of doing it. right? So you come up with the options whereby that's the reason why it's a good idea. I've come back with a counter argument of why it might not be. Okay, flip it the other way around, right? You send out the higher handicappers first, and you have the lower handicappers at the end. The benefits of that is the sense of the tournament. Your better players, in most tournaments come out at the end, so therefore you have that scenario whereby the better players are coming in towards the end, so you don't know who's going to win, particularly a gross prize, until the very last group comes in.
Yeah.
Flip side, you mentioned it earlier. You then have players who might be a little bit slower to start off with, and it's very difficult for slower players, higher handicap, to speed up because they don't suddenly become better players overnight in the middle of a round and go, I tell you what, I've figured it out now. I know how to play like a single figure handicapper now. I'm going to bang them 250 yards down the middle of the fairway every time. So therefore, generally speaking, that slow player is not going to it's not going to speed up, kind of thing. Okay. So there's the two scenarios there. What about mixing them up? What's the benefits of that? How do you see a benefit with mixing them up?
Well, I mean, the thing with mixing up, the worst players are going to learn from the better players, which is not a bad thing. That's a good thing. Then you've got the problem of the two issues combined then, haven't you? Because everybody's going to be fairly slow then. You are guaranteeing slow rounds by doing that. So, then you have the issue that you might send the best player out in the final group, or the first group, and they still have to wait for the final group, but that is definitely going to be a 3-hour wait. I mean, personally, shotgun start, if you've got 50 players, solves that issue completely. Yes, there might be a bit of a backlog, but it's not really going to be much more than everybody's going to finish within an hour of each other, within half hour of each other, really, which solves that issue. But also, I feel if you mix it as well, if I was playing a junior open and I was, say, a high handicapper going against somebody who's really good, yes, I'd be able to learn from them, but equally, we're in a competition. So, I would feel perhaps a little bit more under pressure to play a shot quicker, even though I'm perhaps not quite confident about that shot, and I'll probably shoot a little bit higher. I think you combine both issues. I think you either need to split it one way or the other. Highers go first or lowers. I would just send lower handicappers out first, and because they're probably going to win it. One of those is probably going to win it. And there's no easy solution, really, Steve.
No, this is it. No, I mean, another option might be, let's say, for example, if you put out a high handicapper group, then a low handicapper group, a high handicapper group, a low handicapper group. So you have a little bit of a slow player issue, but only every other group, if you see what I mean.
Again, then you might as well just mix it because you've got the same problem there, haven't you? So it sort of swings in roundabouts.
Yeah. Now, okay, we're obviously trying to put scenarios out there whereby I'm trying to find solutions as well. Now, in my experience of what way whereby you can try and counter either one of these issues here is manpower. And that's if you are aware of the fact that you're sending out the higher handicappers first, then you make sure you have more volunteers to start off with. So therefore you can try and keep them up and try and keep the speed of play up. So I'll give an example this year. I was in an event whereby on the first, I was taking photos around the first green, and I noticed one lad hit his first tee shot right, hit his next shot left, then realised he played the wrong ball, had to go back to his first ball, found it, hit the next shot. So by the time they got to the green, they were already way behind, probably 5 or 6 minutes behind. And I thought, right, straight away spotted and go, right. So I said to the 3-ball, I said, I know it's only the second hole, second tee, but do you understand what ready golf is? And one of the players said, no. Never heard of it. So obviously immediately I explained, right, ready golf is when you're in a situation whereby it doesn't matter if it's your turn or not. If you are ready to play,
classic etiquette goes out the window. Go.
Basically, just to get yourself to the point whereby you catch up with the group in front. You just play a little bit quicker, and hopefully within, let's say, a hole and a half, 2 holes, you've caught up with the group in front. Not a problem. And for those, by the way, who aren't aware of we did a podcast on etiquette a little while ago. The etiquette, which generally speaking it's not a case of staying in front of the group behind, it's keeping up with the group in front. So the argument, well, we're not slowing anyone else up. Look, they're miles behind us. Well, that's not the argument. It's the other way around. You're supposed to be keeping up with the group in front, kind of thing. So that's where, if you can do that, and if you can catch it within a hole or so, then fine. Now that did lead to problems, but obviously, like I say, if there was manpower there who not just me, that one person on that tee, there was someone on the third or fourth hole saying, "Okay, I know you speed up a little bit, but just a little bit more," kind of thing, or someone there to say, when you put your trolley on this side of the green, like the next tee's over there, make sure you do that whilst the other person is lined up. So just little techniques to speed up the play when it's needed. It may not be needed for those lower handicaps because they know the etiquette, they know that that's the type of thing which those scenarios may arise, kind of thing. So there are solutions there when you do those types of things. Right, same competition, right? You have 3 girls playing. What do you do with the 3 girls? Do you put them out into the 3 ball, or do you put them out with two boys?
Well, it depends what field numbers you've got. If you've got accurate field numbers for 3 balls, I just stick the 3 girls out. For course management purposes, really, it's easier for somebody to just follow 3 girls off the girls' tees every time than splitting it, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Just back to your first one, because I might have a minor solution. I've just thought of it. Now, I don't know whether it.
Okay, right. We're from genius now. Go on.
This tonight. Into so they finished the front 9.
Yeah.
Then they 9, and you wait for the next 2 to come through, and they join you as a 4 ball for the back. So everybody races through the front 9, and then you slow down on the back 9.
Yeah.
Do you understand what I'm saying?
Kind of.
Yeah.
Do
you think that would work? Do you think that could?
It brings complications, I think. It's a nice theory, but yes, yeah. Let me give you the scenario, which is what happened with this competition. Though there was 3 girls playing in the competition, and they went down the route of sending them out in. So it didn't matter which way around it was, whether it was the better players first of all or the lower handicappers. At the end, whichever way you want to do it, they did it handicap order, and it ended up whereby they had 3 girls whose handicap, because it was in complete handicap order, just happened to fall. Let's say you had 3 players playing off 5, 3 players playing off 6, and 3 players playing off 7, and there was 1 girl in those three groups.
Okay.
And what happened is that the 2 boys in each of the 2 groups walked around, talked to each other, and the poor girl in each one of those 3 groups was pretty much had a round of golf on their own, not talking to anyone. Yeah. Obviously playing off different tees as well, and all 3 of them. And all 3 of them, I know, all 3 of them, lovely girls and everything, all 3 of them came in and said it really wasn't an enjoyable round of golf for us, kind of thing, But it was such an easy solution because, a 5 handicapper, 6 handicapper, and a 7 handicapper, realistically, there's no difference there. So it was no bother to put the 5, 6, 7 boy handicappers together, the 3 girls together, and then the 5, 6, 7 handicapper in the next group, and no one would have noticed anything at all. So little advice there for golf clubs out there. When you have those type of scenarios, don't have the rigid, it has to be in handicap order structure, because there will be scenarios whereby you go, well, actually, we might just need to put a high handicapper in that group for whatever reason. So let's say, for example, as well, there might be 2 golfers there who are, I don't know, 2 friends, whereby it just makes more sense for them to play. They might have come in the same car. One of them might be playing off handicap 25, one of them might be playing off a handicap 6. Would you send them out in reverse order and have an hour and a half gap between them? No, you wouldn't, would you? You'd be sensible in how you wanted to structure the tee times. You might have 2 golfers. One of them might well be using a buggy through because handicaps or whatever, because they're actually handicapped, so therefore has to use a buggy. So therefore it makes sense to put them with people who are okay with that kind of thing. There are certain people out there who, this is not the best of example, but I was aware of a situation whereby someone found out they were playing with a disabled golfer and turned around and said, and pulled them names out the competition, which I think is absolutely shocking. Now, as a golf club, what do you do with that? Do you listen to them and say, okay, I'll move you or not? I mean, my reaction was, look, if you want to do that, then we don't want you in our competition. But it might be a case of, let's say, for example, if it was 2 people who didn't get on with each other, really didn't get on with each other, let's say the parents didn't get on with each other, would you change the tee times to make sure that they avoided each other, just to make sure that both of those players played in the event, as opposed to both of them pulling out? These are scenarios whereby junior organisers need to be aware of these types of things when they are holding junior opens. And these are scenarios which have all happened this year with events that I've been involved with or organised myself.
Are they? And it's a problem. Does enough the junior open for them to actually do the research to get these things out? Or is it a case of, I'm not saying this is true with clubs, because I know a lot of clubs are fantastic with their juniors, but is it a case of I would do it because we should and heartedly do it?
Yes, I agree. And that, by the way, that golf club which did the reverse handicap, fantastic junior organizer, really well junior section there. So I can't even level that at them. I can't even say to them that they don't care about juniors. It was just a little bit of lack of forethought of hold on, that's just something we need to be aware of. So I'll give you another example. A junior open last year, which wasn't part of an order event which I organised, had, I think it was 17 juniors playing in it. So a very small field of junior opens. So just to give people an idea of the kind of numbers you can get for junior opens, I ran it this year as part of an order merit event. This year, we encouraged the county. The county were organising a county coaching session on that day, and the county coaches contacted the county coaches and said, "Look, there's this junior open taking place. Wouldn't it make sense, instead of you having county coaching and players not playing in this event, why don't you get them to come and play in this event?" And they thought, brilliant. What we'll do is we'll get our county coaches to come along to this event and watch our juniors. Instead of standing on a range with them, we'll go and watch them play in a competition. We'll learn more about them that way. Worked really well. Got 30 extra juniors into this junior open. So they went from having 17 juniors one year to 60. They weren't expecting that, were they? So they didn't adapt to it. They didn't think we need more personnel. We need to be aware of the fact that suddenly our tee times have gone from having 6 tee times to 18 tee times or 20 tee times. So therefore they couldn't cope with it. It was also a very difficult golf course because as you well know, this summer was very hot, so the ground was very hard. It was a long round of golf for some of them, so you had issues whereby very frustrated junior golfers out there, slow play, some of them hitting shots which were bouncing further, so actually reaching groups in front. There was no stewards out there on the golf course to make sure that there was no danger involved. So we're talking about safety issues as well here, you see. So, and the golf club was fantastic in the sense of, there was they wanted the players there. They wanted to encourage juniors to play in a junior open, but just a little bit how to adapt to don't be afraid of success. When you get a lot of players coming to events, it brings added pressures, it brings added issues, and these are things which golf clubs need to be aware of, and also juniors need to be aware of. Adults need to be aware of that in those type of scenarios. There was parents, there were juniors out there who were frustrated. And sometimes you need to take a step back, which is not easy, particularly when you're a parent or you're in a junior and you're in that environment, whereby you have to take a step back and go, this is the reason why this is happening today. It didn't happen last year because there was no one playing in it. But it's a different environment now, you see. So those are examples of where don't be afraid of having lots of juniors in there. You just have to be aware of how it can work. With medals, whether you go with the medal format or a Stableford format, as we well know, medal, every single shot counts.
Yeah,
great format to play in, and that's generally the format which junior opens use. Now it's wonderful, but you stand on that first tee and someone smacks 3 out of bounds, they pretty much will know they are not going to win that competition on that day. Someone who's playing the Stableford competition smacks 3 out of bounds, blobs that hole, hits 2 fantastic shots on the next hole, gets a net eagle. Suddenly they're level par after 2 holes. So therefore they're back in the competition, they're back in the environment, you see. Whereas, so what do you do with that? If you have that medal environment, what do you do with that junior or that child when they've got 17 holes to play in a medal format, whereby completely lost interest, so that you need to be aware of this when you are organising competitions, the type of format you go with. You mentioned about age categories, you can go down that line if you want to, and I'm not saying don't do that with your junior open, but just try and tailor it to what you think is the best way of making sure that your junior open is a success. And at the end of the day, that's what we're all trying to do. Clubs, juniors, county, organisers, county golf unions, club professionals, we're all trying to make the best of it. So, give you another example. A golf course near me ran a 9-hole junior open last year, and they came back in. They said our golf course is too hard for 9-hole players, so we're not going to run the 9-hole category this year. So they completely knocked it. They completely knocked it on the head. They didn't think, right, how do we adapt it? How do we make it more friendly this time? How do we make the format better? To me, it was a simple scenario. Well, in which case, if it's too hard, then what happened last year? It's too hard. The rounds are taking too long. So therefore, probably the scores are ridiculously high. So it's a handicap qualifier. So really, probably everyone's handicap went the opposite direction because of that competition. So in which case, then don't make a handicap qualifier by putting them out on forward tees, by moving the tees forward, make it more friendly, make it that they want to go and play your golf course. And by the way, this is a fantastic golf course. This is a golf course you want to play. But they're correct. One of the holes there's a 220-yard par 3 off the red tees. They're sending them off the red tees. Absolutely, yeah. I've stood on that tee, and I've generally played off the yellow tees, which might be 230 yards, and I've stood on that tee and gone, and they put the nearest to pin on that hole. Thank you very much. Great. What chance have I got of winning the nearest to pin, kind of thing?
Nearest to pin, but still 30 yards away.
That's it. Yeah. It was nearest the green for me. Yeah, that's it. You see. So, but there are ways of adapting it. In those circumstances, even if you say, right, well, let's make that a par 4.
I think, Steve, we make golf too complicated. You know my feelings with this, and I come from a golf background, but multiple sports background, and for me, golf is the most ridiculously complicated sport of anything. It is outrageous. Now, for juniors, I wouldn't. For the lower handicappers, I think they should only match play against each other. I think you should do away with stroke play when it's lower handicappers if they're going to play tournaments. So rather than maybe mixing them up against let the me golfers duke it out with my fellow meers. Do you know what I mean? And have a bit of a giggle and not put too much pressure. For the handicappers who are trying to make it, let them play against each other, but let them play match play. Let them go against man to man, boy to boy, girl to girl, or boy versus girl, or whatever it is. Experience things that way, because you made a very good point earlier. Golf, as we said, is an individual sport, and you're actually playing the course. You're not actually, if you're in a group of 3, you've got 2 other players in your group. You're not playing them, all right? You're not playing them. And it was really sad to hear that story of the 3 being totally ignored as well, because that's not right.
And by the way, the lads who were playing in those groups were really nice young golfers. A couple of them in particular were really nice, young boys. So people they weren't deliberately doing it. It just the way that the round went is the fact that obviously they might well have had a bit of a chat on the fairway, perhaps, but they were good players. So obviously they were taking the greens, reading the green seriously. So you don't have too much of a chat then. And obviously, as soon as they walk off the green, the girl goes off in one direction to the tee, the boys goes off, the 2 boys walk off to the other. So inevitably, those 2 are talking together. The girl is left on her own. So it wasn't anything like they weren't doing anything deliberately. They weren't trying to upset the girls or anything like that. It just got
I've seen that scenario a lot, and like I said, it's not the lads being horrible or anything. It's just the fact that because they've teed off at the same place, they just naturally walk down together. That's what it is. And the girl, unfortunately, she's teed off and is off again. And they just happen to be by themselves, and it's not particularly nice. And like I said, it's not the lads not being nice to her or anything like that, or vice versa. It's just the fact that it's a lonely walk by yourself at times, isn't it, when you've got nobody else around you? And I just think we need to really simplify. I generally think there should be no such thing as a handicap until you get to about 14 or something for junior golfers. I really, really do. And I just think we make handicap is a complicated thing to work out if you're just a casual golfer. You're not that bothered. I don't really care. I played golf when I'm about 20, but I don't really care less, to be honest, what my handicap is. But I'm a different level to a lot of people. A lot of people are better than I am and take it a lot more serious than I do, whereas I just play for enjoyment these days. I don't play to compete. But
Okay, well, we'll come into that point then, because it's I appreciate we've talked quite a lot already about the different aspects.
Guys, quick,
absolutely, yeah. But two things I wanted to talk about then, because they come back to your point there of how seriously you take these junior opens. Prizes. What prizes do you have at junior opens? Because you can get them too big, and suddenly it becomes too serious, and then that brings in issues. That brings in, cheating's a strong word, and in particular as far as junior golf is concerned, because generally speaking, kids don't really want to cheat out there. They just may not know the rules, or they may, because they feel a little bit, they're for want of a better phrase, the lack of a bit of maturity as far as calling themselves out on if they hit the ball in the bushes or whatever, and they don't know the rules, things like that. So I'll give you a scenario. I'll give you something which happened very recently at a competition I was at. I spotted 2 potential rules errors, and I took a step back. I was taking photos, and I just thought to myself, what do I do here? It's not for me to go and call them, because at the end of the day, it's up to them to write on the scorecard whatever they did. And on both of them, I genuinely think they didn't know the rules properly. So one of them, I'm not actually absolutely 100% certain that I knew the rule as well. So I've since spoken to a professional who's a professional, and he's still not sure as well, because I think the rules have changed as far as this is concerned. But I'll go back to the original, the one where I'm fairly certain about, and this golfer is a little bit unlucky, because I was taking photos, and this golfer was taking a photo and hit a tee shot, or took a proper swing, and completely missed the ball, but hit it minutely, and the ball toppled off the tee. And the golfer picked the ball up and put it on the tee and hit a tee shot. Now I've got a photo of that player with the club directly behind the ball as they were lining up the tee shot, and then the full swing and the club hitting the ground before the ball and just touching the ball. So there's no doubt that it was a proper swing to play the shot. But they weren't cheating. It was just they didn't know that was what they were supposed to do, kind of thing. This is a person who was playing in a 9-hole competition. So someone who is very young, doesn't understand the rules. I spoke to the organizer of that competition and said to them, how strictly do you impose the rules here? I don't know if you use the word impose, but that was the... And they said, yes, we do. What do you do, Ian? Do you disqualify that person?
No. I mean, Steve, this is the problem. This is the problem with golf. I love golf. I love it to bits. This is the big problem. All right. For God's sake, just let them take a shot again. They are going to stop playing the game. All right. I'll give you an example. Football. All right. Anything under 10s or under 12s, there's no offside rule. All right. The rules are different. There's no such thing as offsides. It's rolling subs. The rules are different for juniors than they are for adults. And they're different to simplify the game so they can learn how to play the game. They don't need to have strict rules. Although it's got to be a club length back behind it, or it's got to be this. Oh, for God's sake, just let him pick it up and hit it again. Do you know what I mean? Like, he didn't gain anything by doing that. It's not a practice swing. I mean, this is it. That type of, and I'm sorry to say, but whoever's in charge of that tournament should hang their head in shame for that, because you are stopping kids from playing out. Now, if it knocked it 10 yards, then okay, that's a hit, and you've got to suck that up and hit it. He did it, and it was probably he got punished enough for being embarrassed for doing that on the tee. Don't then disqualify. I mean, come on. This, we want these people to be playing. These are the future. These are the lifeblood of golf clubs for the next 50, 60, 70 years. And we seem to be doing everything we can to stop them playing the game. And I don't understand it. I mean, yes, there's got to be certain rules, but that is just ridiculous. No, okay. I wouldn't disqualify. I'll pull him aside and say, "You're all right, mate. Don't worry about it. Have another go."
Yeah. In their defence, they didn't disqualify them. They didn't do anything about it. Basically, with my, if you like, advice, I said, "Look, I know the professional who is the teaching pro of this particular player." I said, "I think that's a conversation which can be had at a later date, in a friendly environment whereby just to teach, do it in a rules quiz, do it in something whereby in a position whereby there's a time and a place to do it, kind of thing." By the way, that person went on and won that competition. Yeah, yeah, but that's the irony about it, isn't it? and they won it by a mile. So if you'd docked them a couple of points or whatever on that particular hole, they still would have won it anyway. So it wouldn't have made a blind bit of difference as far as those.
I tell you that Santos, he's clearly a good player, then, right? And there's a future at some level in the game for that player. If you'd have DQ'd him, I bet he'd gone home and go, I'm not going to play this game again. It's rubbish. I don't want to play anymore.
Yeah. And
I would just simplify the rules. Simplify them for juniors because I don't know half the rules of golf. I probably break a lot of rules every time I play around the golf. You know, I'd be DQ'd out of every single tournament or anything, you know, but come on, you know.
And going back to my point about prizes, this was a few years ago. I worked for a tour a few years ago, a junior tour, and I was on holiday in La Manga, a media golf trip in La Manga, and I was talking to the person who ran La Manga, and I said, any chance of you sorting out as a prize? I run a junior golf tour. And they said, how about a family holiday to come over here? So I'm like, wow, fantastic. Of course. Yeah. You know, so we had a prize of a family holiday to La Manga. I was criticized by so many people for saying the prize was too big. And I get it. I understand the reasons why, because it did put too much pressure on the kids and also the parents. But this massive prize of, you know, whereby instead of playing for like 3 golf balls, suddenly you're playing for a £1,500 holiday to go
here's
to
the
La
thing
Manga.
you said before then, Steve. When the prize is that big, it then comes down to manpower because you need somebody to stay with that group for the full 18 holes to make sure everything's done correctly. Because otherwise, yes, you open yourself up. Because there's competition rules as well. And I'm not just talking about golf competition rules. There are certain rules legally that you have to abide rules by. So you can't just give that trip away randomly to somebody. It's got to be proven that you've done it fairly. And the only way to do that is you would need, if you've got 20 groups, you need 20 individuals who understand the rules of golf to follow those round. Is that viable to get 20 volunteers to do that for your junior open? You might get lucky, but probably not for the average club. You know?
Yeah, absolutely. But these are examples whereby you have to be aware of the kind of prizes you're putting out there. I mean, I remember it wasn't a junior event, but I remember a club championship who basically gave free membership to the winner of the club championship. And this guy used to play in it once a year on the knowledge that he pretty much was the best golfer at the club. He used to get free membership the following year just by playing in the club championship. You know, so you know. Cause and effect, you know, at the end of the day, that's what you get if you put up a fantastic prize. You end up with someone who plays at your golf club once a year, you know, one weekend and wins your club championship, you see. So
I would my advice to clubs, not that I'm an expert on this, but from a minor outsider looking in, is just keep it simple. Keep it simple. Don't go too nuts imposing too many rules and enforcement. Personally, if I owned a golf club, you know, I would push junior golf massively. I would do it via age category because I personally think that's the way that they will develop. And yes, there will be better players than others. Name me a sport that the better players don't always win at in individual sports anyway. Doesn't matter whether you play tennis, doesn't matter whether you do bowling or whatever, the better players will win. But a lot of the times, you know, you go into these sports not necessarily to win. A lot of times it's for the camaraderie, it's for the friendships to be part of something, and it's because you enjoy it. And I think that's important at juniors. We're not trying to get them necessarily to be the next Tiger Woods. If they end up being to make it as pro, brilliant. Realistically, if you've got 100 juniors at your golf club, probably if 0.1 of them make it as pro, you've done quite well. Do you know what I mean? So, you know, there's got to be a level of expectation as well, and we're not trying to win. We're not trying to win the Masters every time there's a junior open. Let them go have fun. Let them learn the game. The most important thing that golf clubs should be focusing on is converting every single one of those juniors into a member at the club or getting the parents to join the club. They should be focused on the business side of things just as much. And junior opens are a great way to raise the business and increase income because that's what golf clubs need to do rather than trying to DQ people for silly mistakes.
Now we've talked about junior opens. Hopefully we've given you a few ideas, not just golf clubs, but also
you know. And I'm rants.
That's fine. I mean, there's as you can imagine, this is such a massive topic. I mean, we haven't really touched about even about how you actually get players to come and play in these events. So we'll just stick with one thing for that. Just go to Progress Junior Golf and have a look on there, and we'll give you all the details about the kind of events that you can play and kind of thing. But look, it's a big subject, and both Ian and myself are very keen on golf tours to try and, you know, put these events on because there are a lot of kids out there who want to play in these competitions. And when you put them on, when you advertise them properly, when you get the format right, when you put them in place, a competition which is really enjoyable for everyone, they will come. You know, what's the build it, they will come. What's
build it and they will come. Yeah,
absolutely. You see, but build it properly and make sure that it's, and learn from your mistakes as well. This, you know, you can build it, measure why I've run events for the last 2 or 3 years or so, and the numbers have gone up. But I've also learned from the mistakes. I've learned from the mistakes on this year of some of these events whereby, not necessarily that directly I'll get involved with, but the things whereby I've spotted and gone, how would I, if I was organising that event, how would I make it whereby we could limit the damage, make sure that scenario was less likely to happen in future. So there are things whereby you can learn, go and look at other clubs, go and see how they run successful junior. I mentioned Gaudet Luce, they had 50, 60 players playing in theirs. So go and have a look at other clubs. Ask the juniors who play in those events, why did you enjoy that junior open? Why didn't you enjoy that one? What was different from there? Ask the parents, and it might be a regional thing. They're just some golf clubs are easier to get to than others. So why would you want to go and drive, an hour and a half to go and play in a junior open somewhere else? Well, if you're doing that, ask the question why. Is it because it's a better golf course? Is it because it's better run? Is it because it has more players? Is it because it has better prizes? Is it because it doesn't have prizes? It could be all sorts of different reasons. So go out there and look, because there's a lot of information out there, and we can all learn from it, and as a result of that, junior golf will be a bigger and better place to be.
I think it's quite simple, Steve. If you run a junior open and the boy or girl who's won and the boy or girl who's come last, if they both leave and they've both got smiles on their faces, you've done a good job. That's it. You don't need prizes. I mean, most sports, they just play for a crappy little plastic trophy and that's it. Do you know what I mean? Just this is about giving the kids a taste of golf competitively, but so they go away happy, wanting to pick the clubs up the next day. If they leave and they don't want to play the game, you've done something seriously wrong.
Now, it's interesting. We're going to wrap up this podcast now. We're going to have a bit of a chat, though, briefly about what's coming up in the next podcast, because it's interesting you use the word crappy plastic trophy, because the next podcast is all about sustainability in golf. So we're going to look at it because obviously it's a massive, massive issue in golf, full stop. It's a massive issue in the world, full stop. But we have to think it is for the future generations that we are making a mess of it, full stop. So let's try and think about how we can make it right for juniors. So we're going to be covering some big things coming in this time next week. We're going to have the young ambassadors. They're going to be giving us a few ideas about what they have done with England Golf to try and bring about some sustainability. We're going to be talking about how golf courses can adapt and golf venues and things like that. You see, so it's a massive topic, and it is about junior golf, this podcast, but that's a topic which, regardless, we should be watching, we should be learning from. And
it is, in fact, it's more important because the juniors are the ones who are going to have to take the brunt of it. It's going to be fascinating, by the way, because I did read a story about one golf course who next to a farm, and they let the farmers' cows roam across the fairway to cut the grass down. It's brilliant. That's just a true story.
Yeah, and you know where my tee-shot's going to end up as well. Yeah.
That poor cow is all I can say. Yeah?
I was thinking more of its droppings, but let's not even go there. Right. Anyway, that's for next Wednesday. So this junior podcast was all about junior opens. I hope you've enjoyed it, and I hope that your junior open this year will go, or next year will go swimmingly, and I'll come along and take some photos if you want me to. So have a good evening, and we shall see you next Wednesday.
Bye-bye.